Picture Rapa Nui, Easter Island, one of the world's most remote and mysterious places, a tiny speck of land adrift in the vast Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles from the nearest continent. Here, nearly 1,000 Moai, the island's colossal stone figures, stand watch over the land, their silent gaze stretching across centuries. These silent giants carved from volcanic tuff have long, solemn faces, heavy brows, and an air of ancient mystery that has fascinated explorers and scholars alike. Some stand tall and proud on ceremonial stone platforms called ahu, their backs turned to the endless sea, as if guarding the island's people. Others lie unfinished in the ancient quarry, frozen in time, as if the carvers simply set down their tools and walked away, leaving a puzzle for future generations. For centuries, these statues have captivated all who see them, drawing visitors from around the world to marvel at their scale and mystery. The average Moai is 13 feet tall and weighs an astonishing 14 tons, roughly the weight of 2 full-grown elephants. The largest of them all, Paro, once stood over 30 feet high and tipped the scales at an incredible 80 tons. The real marvel is how an ancient society with no wheels, no draft animals, and no metal tools managed to carve and transport these giants across the island's rugged, windswept terrain. How did they do it? The question has puzzled generations of archaeologists and adventurers. Theories abound, from massive wooden sledges and ropes to ingenious rolling techniques, each idea sparking new debates and experiments. Some believe the island's forests were sacrificed to move the Moai, leading to ecological collapse and hardship for the Rapa Nui people. This ecocide story became a cautionary tale for the world, but what if it's not the whole truth? What if, instead, the Rapa Nui were ingenious and resilient, adapting to challenges and working together in ways we are only beginning to understand? The mystery of the Moai isn't just about moving stone, it's about unlocking the creativity, determination, and spirit of a remarkable people whose legacy endures. And now, with the help of modern science and technology, we are finally beginning to listen to the silent giant's story, and to the voices of those who created them. The central puzzle: how did the Rapa Nui move the Moai from the Rano Raraku quarry to distant Ahu platforms? Early explorers imagined armies dragging statues on wooden sledges, fueling the idea that the islanders destroyed their forests for this purpose. Thor Heyerdahl's 1950s experiment with sledges seemed to support this, but it required huge effort and resources. Yet, archaeologists found little evidence of sledges or rollers, and the deforestation theory seemed too simplistic. Crucially, it ignored the islanders' own oral traditions. When asked, the Rapa Nui always said, "The statues walked." Western researchers dismiss this as myth, but oral histories often hold truth. Could walking be a literal description of the transport method? Modern scientists began to take this claim seriously. The quest to understand walking statues would lead to a breakthrough in archaeology. The answer was hidden in plain sight. Rapa Nui elders say the Moai walked to their platforms powered by mana, spiritual energy, under the guidance of chiefs and priests. These stories, passed down through generations, are more than just tales. They are the living memory of a people whose connection to their land and ancestors runs deep. Outsiders saw this as legend, a fanciful myth that couldn't possibly be true. But what if these accounts describe the actual movement of the Moai, encoded in the language and worldview of the Rapa Nui? Imagine trying to explain a complex engineering process without modern vocabulary. Describing a statue rocking side to side might naturally become a story of walking giants. The elders' words, poetic and vivid, captured the essence of what they saw. Archaeologists noticed fallen Moai along ancient roads, many face down or on their backs, as if they'd toppled while upright, not dragged. This detail challenged earlier theories and hinted at a different method. This pattern fit the idea of statues moving upright and losing balance, rather than being hauled flat across the ground. Oral traditions mention priests chanting and sisters providing energy. When coordination failed, statues fell. The chants, the rituals, and the teamwork were all part of the process. These details could be metaphors for the teamwork and rhythm needed to move the Moai. The entire community had to work in harmony, each person's effort vital to the whole. The chanting might represent calls to synchronize rope pulling, ensuring everyone moved together, step by step, as if the statue itself was alive. The stories, once dismissed as myth, were actually instructions. hidden in plain sight. They were coded messages, waiting for someone to listen closely and decode their meaning. The fallen statues and oral accounts together pointed to a lost but ingenious technique, a method that blended spiritual belief with practical engineering. The myth was a user's manual in disguise, a guidebook written in the language of story and symbol. The Rapa Nui weren't just telling stories, they were preserving engineering secrets, ensuring their knowledge survived even as times changed. The world just needed to listen, to hear the wisdom woven into every legend and every stone. Archaeologists Terry Hunt and Carl Lipo took the walking theory seriously, determined to solve one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. For centuries, people wondered how the massive Moai statues of Easter Island were transported across the rugged landscape. Theories ranged from rolling them on logs to using elaborate sledges, but Hunt and Lipo saw something different in the evidence. They proposed the Moai were moved upright, rocked side to side with ropes, much like moving a heavy refrigerator. This idea was inspired by the statue's forward-leaning design and the wear patterns found on their bases, which suggested a unique method of movement. Teams on either side would pull, tilting the statue and causing it to pivot forward. With careful coordination, the Moai could be walked forward, step by step, in a controlled and surprisingly efficient manner. Step by step, the Moai would walk across the island, their immense weight balanced by teamwork and ingenuity. This method transformed the statues from immovable monoliths into mobile symbols of community effort. This method required far fewer people. Just 18 could move a 14-ton statue. It was a revelation, challenging the idea that only massive labor forces could achieve such feats. It also used less wood, relying on renewable rope materials, not massive sledges. This approach was not only practical, but also sustainable, preserving the island's limited resources. The walking theory challenged the ecocide narrative, showing the Rapa Nui as resourceful and collaborative. Instead of environmental destruction, it highlighted their ability to adapt and thrive. They weren't victims of ambition, but masters of physics and teamwork. Their achievements were a testament to human creativity and cooperation. Their solution was sustainable, efficient, and perfectly adapted to their environment, blending engineering with respect for nature. The theory was compelling, but Hunt and Lipo needed proof. Could this ancient technique really work in practice? Could they make a statue walk again? The world watched as they prepared to put their theory to the ultimate test. The next step: test the theory in the real world, using full-scale replicas and traditional materials to recreate the ancient feat. The answer would change our understanding of Easter Island forever, rewriting the story of the Moai and the people who built them. The Moai's secret was about to be revealed, promising new insight into the ingenuity of the Rapa Nui. For the walking theory to work, the Moai had to be engineered for movement. Hunt and Lipo studied statues abandoned along ancient roads, unfinished but revealing. These road Moai had curved, rounded bases, unlike the flat-bottom statues on Oahu. The curved base allowed rocking, essential for walking. The flat base was carved only after the statue reached its platform. Road Moai also leaned forward at about 14 degrees, making them unstable but primed to tip forward with each rock. Their robust, D-shaped bodies and heavy heads lowered the center of gravity and stabilized the motion. Every design feature, from the rounded belly to the forward lean, served a purpose. These weren't just sculptures. They were engineered for movement. The Rapa Nui had mastered both art and physics. The statues were built to walk. Their design was the key to the island's greatest mystery. Moving a walking statue over volcanic terrain required more than clever design. It needed infrastructure. The Rapa Nui built a network of ancient roads from the quarry to the coast. These roads weren't flat, they were concave, forming shallow U-shapes, perfect for guiding upright, rocking statues, but terrible for dragging sledges. The concave shape kept the Moai centered and reduced the risk of toppling. Along the roads, archaeologists found post holes, likely for guideposts or rope anchors. This suggests a highly organized, repeatable process. The roads were engineered for the statue's unique movement. The Rapa Nui reshaped their landscape to serve their engineering needs. The roads and statues formed a complete island-wide system. The final piece of the puzzle was in place. To prove the walking theory, Hunt and Lipo built a 10-foot, 5-ton replica Moai in 2012. With ropes and a team of 18, they rocked the statue side to side, just as the oral traditions described. The Moai shuffled forward, walking. In 40 minutes, they moved it over 100 yards. The experiment was a stunning success, visually confirming the theory. They also used 3D scans of real Moai to analyze their shape and center of mass. Digital simulations confirmed the statues were optimized for upright movement. The combination of physical and digital evidence was overwhelming. The walking theory moved from myth to fact. Oral traditions proved to be accurate records of a lost engineering technique. The Rapa Nui didn't need brute force, just teamwork and ingenuity. Science had finally caught up with ancient wisdom. The Moai's secret was no longer a mystery. The walking Moai discovery transforms our view of the Rapa Nui. For decades, they were blamed for their own collapse, a story of failure and ecocide. But the truth is far more inspiring. The Rapa Nui were brilliant innovators, not reckless destroyers. They engineered a sustainable, efficient system for moving their monuments. Their story is one of success, resilience, and cultural pride. The walking theory restores dignity to their descendants and validates their oral traditions. The Moai are now symbols of ingenuity, not tragedy. This shift reminds us to listen to indigenous voices and question old assumptions. The Rapa Nui achieved one of history's greatest engineering feats through cleverness, not destruction. As of today, the mystery of the walking Moai is solved. Science, oral tradition, and archaeology together reveal the truth: the statues walked. This elegant solution was hidden by our own assumptions for centuries. The discovery reshapes the story of Easter Island, celebrating the Rapa Nui as ingenious engineers. The Moai are now monuments to human creativity and teamwork. Their story inspires us to value cleverness over brute force. The Rapa Nui used what they had to achieve the extraordinary. Thanks to a new perspective, the silent giants finally share their secret. Their journey was one of creativity, not collapse. The legacy of Easter Island is enduring human genius, a lesson for us all.